Bloomberg's editor-in-chief emeritus argued in an opinion piece today that renewable energy is not the culprit here. Matthew Winkler joins us now to discuss this. Matt, I want to start by just hearing your response to those who are really quickly jumping to blame these blackouts on renewables. What's your reaction to that?
Well, it's obviously very silly because what's happening is that renewable energy increasingly is more cost effective, or let's put it another way, it's cheaper than fossil fuels. And that's why Texas, like so many other states, is embracing renewable energy, and why renewable energy is creating the most jobs, really, of any industry aside from the so-called e-commerce discretionary. And so that was a focus of what we wrote about earlier today. And Texas is the second largest state, and so you would expect Texas to be a leader in renewable energy. And you know what? It's going to happen because renewable energy is, in fact, a better choice for us now than fossil fuel.
Right, and you mentioned in your piece that alternative energy only contributed less than 13% to these blackouts. And I'm wondering, this Texas situation really highlights a need for nationwide power lines. And with the effects of climate change, this is, of course, not going to be the last time our infrastructure is tested, right? So why, in your view, is alternative energy the solution moving forward here?
Well, as I said earlier, for the world to transition to a low-carbon electricity energy, the cost is absolutely front and center. And historically, fossil fuels have dominated global power supply precisely because fossil fuels were far cheaper. But in the past 5 years, that has completely changed. It's changed to the extent that in fact, alternative energy is becoming cheaper and ever cheaper than fossil fuel. And so this is a business decision. And so investors, capitalists, if you like, are embracing alternative energy precisely because it's the lower cost fuel that we need. And it happens to converge very nicely with the fact that we're dealing with an existential threat called climate change, and we have to reduce the carbon footprint. So that's why alternative energy or renewable is increasingly competitive.
Right. And I'm wondering if you can talk about Texas as sort of a case study for renewables, since we know that the current system obviously isn't working. Could some of these changes toward green energy in Texas make the state sort of a case study for what clean energy could look like moving forward across the U.S.?
Well, it already is. And, you need look no further than this company called Tesla, which everybody's heard of by now.
Yep.
And, just less than a decade ago, it had fewer than 900 people when it launched the all-electric zero-emission Model S sedan. And today, Tesla employs 48,000 people. That's a 53 times increase. Its market capitalization has gone up 300 times to $755 billion. It's worth more than all the automakers in the top 10 practically combined. But here's the thing. Chief Executive Officer Elon Musk said he's moving to Texas. Why? Because Tesla is building a factory outside of Austin to meet growing demand for its vehicles. And this, if you will, underscores the irony of Governor Abbott's disparagement of clean energy in his state, when you have technology's most affluent and visible champion becoming a new resident responsible for ever more jobs in Texas. Right. And that's likely to be a trend. I mean, the fact that Musk is there and is putting down roots tells you that Tesla is an example or an avatar of where Texas itself is headed.
Right. Really helpful information for what the country could look like moving forward. Matt, thank you so much for joining us.
The biggest stories the moment they happen from around the globe. Subscribe to Bloomberg Quick Take now for insight in an instant.